Real Estate Show with Pat Lopez, where we talk everything real estate. Today, my guest is Tia Whitaker from Domain Real Estate. Tia, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Pat. Happy to be here.
Great. Okay, so I always start off the shows by asking, how did you get started in real estate? Tell me your story.
Yeah, so about 11 years ago, my cousin gave me a call and said that she was opening up a real estate company and asked for me to actually be the assistant there.
Okay.
I was at the time running my own business and decided that that wasn't something I was going to be able to do. And maybe about a week later, she called me and said, well, what about coming on and helping us to build a business and become a real estate agent? I said, that's definitely something to think about.
Right.
And maybe not even 24 hours later, they bought some classes for me. I began to study, take the real estate test, and became a realtor. So our family opened up Domain Real Estate Group 11 years ago,
Okay.
and I've been there building and on for the ride.
Okay, I had no clue that was your story.
Yes, that's how it happened. That's how it happened.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so you started out as an agent, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so from there, I know you've done many things, rehabbing, building a team. So tell me your progression. So how did you go to saying, okay, I'm an agent, but now I want to have a team?
Yeah, yep, absolutely. So it was a journey, right? So I think with being a realtor, everybody's going to have their own separate process of what they were doing. For me, I decided I needed a team because my volume was much more than I can do.
Right.
So I'm really big on not burning myself out with things and serving people in excellence. So how am I able to do that if I'm servicing 25 clients and I'm going on showings and going to closings and doing transaction coordination? It's impossible for one person to handle the volume. So as my business started to build, I knew that I needed to scale and leverage so I can keep what I was doing going and the momentum that I had. So I actually just recently started a team. I want to say we've been in about 4 years ago.
Okay.
So it took me a while to make that decision. However, it is the best decision that I can make. So definitely I would say to like any realtors that's listening, if you are someone that's building and you see a progression in your business for at least, I would say about 2 years straight, then you know it's probably time for you to build a team if you can configure your volume.
Great. So let me ask you this question, because you just mentioned you started doing well. So starting out as a new agent, what were you doing, or what do you attribute your success to?
Yeah, so good question. When I first started, ground in a couple things. Number one, I've always been an office girl. Any realtors who decide they're going to be successful, I always tell them to get in the office. You got to get in the office. You got to get around real estate. You got to hear the conversations. You got to see what everybody's doing. That was extremely helpful to me. And then I started with rentals, believe it or not. When I came into real estate, it was our family business, right? So all of our family have the same family. So we weren't all going to get those same leads. That wasn't, our sphere was pretty much the same. So I had to come in and figure out how was I going to work it. I found out that as our office started to get some rental leads, it was a lot of people that were calling that were looking to rent. And I said, maybe I can decide to work the rental business. And then as I'm pulling credit, as I'm looking at their savings, I can convert them into homeowners. So that's how that happened. And that's how I honestly found my niche in the business as well. So I started my first year in real estate. I ended up doing like 20 plus rentals and maybe just like 3 or 4 sales.
Right.
And then the very next year, I quadrupled that because of starting off that way.
Right. And then you have the people, if you stayed in contact with them, if they rented for a year, then they turn around and say, you know what, Tia, I'm ready to take the next step.
Absolutely.
And what did Tia say?
Let's go.
I just so happy to show you some houses.
Absolutely. And we had those conversations. Like I told them, like, hey, this is where you are and you may not be in position today, but if you do X, Y, and Z, I'll give you a call at month 7 of your lease and let's see where you are and let's see if you can purchase a home the next go round. And that worked probably 90% of the time.
Right. And that's super smart, because you plant the seed from day one. Hey, this is step 1.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't mean that step 1 stays step 1, because there's step 2 and 3 that we can do. That's really smart. And then since we're talking about that, just building your business, I've been at a couple of your home buyer workshops.
Yeah.
I've been to a million of them. I've spoken at many of them.
Yes.
And typically a normal agent has like 5 people, and if they're lucky, 10. If they're lucky, right? You have, if it's a bad one, 50 and like 100. So what's the secret sauce? What are you doing to get people and to attract people?
So it's a number of things. So from the very beginning, once I found my niche in year one, which is definitely working with first time home buyers. That's what I love to do. That's my passion. That's what gets me out of bed every morning. So if I know that I'm working, if that is my particular niche and that's my clientele, my voice has been the same for the last 11 years. So as I'm building and as people are hearing me, they're beginning to trust me. So now I'm saying, okay, we're going to have these first time home buyers workshops. I'm inviting those same people that I started renting properties to these workshops. So if you're calling and you're saying, hey, I want to inquire about a $1,200 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house, maybe they're not in position to get it, but then I send them a link to my home buying workshop and say, come on and show up. It's a number of things. I do it that way. I do it via social media. I do it by just educating, having conversations, sending out flyers. There's a number of different ways I do it. But I want to make sure that as people are registering, like I don't stop the promotions until I see, I want to say at least 150 people signed up for my workshops, because my numbers show that if 150 people are going to show up, most likely 50 people are going to be in the space, whether virtual or in person.
Right. No, without question. And that is always a rule of thumb. At best, you're at 50% that people register because, life happens, people forget or what have you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, without question. Okay, so that was really good. And yeah, I do see you on social media. So you go a little extra on the social media where you're doing testimonials and all that kind of stuff, which is really smart too.
Yeah.
Because I think people can identify if somebody's, doing a testimonial saying, man, I never thought I could ever buy a house, thank you for guiding me, educating me, that kind of thing. I think that could obviously inspire other people saying,
Absolutely.
hey, this person looks pretty darn normal. If that person did it, maybe I could do it.
Absolutely. Right? And that's honestly the core reason. Like I find, especially like as first time home buyers, they think they're the only ones. They think they're the only ones who struggle with credit. They think they're the only ones who struggle with saving. So to see somebody who looks like them, that has the same struggles as them, overcome it, that then give them the push to go. So I would say every time I post a result of someone who looks like my particular avatar or my client, that's encouraging people. So now I post that, and then 10 people are emailing me the next day saying, okay, Tia, I want to buy a house. Now, maybe not all 10 of those are ready, but if 2 are ready and the 8 are nurtured, and then that's how you begin to build a successful business in real estate.
Right, and that's the key, nurture. Just because it's a no today, it doesn't mean it's a no a year or 2 or 3 down the road, especially if you stay in contact, with them. So that's really good. Okay, so let me ask you some more questions here. Right now, there was a stat that NAR came out with that 20 years ago, the average age was 28 years old to be a first-time home buyer. Now that is 38. Completely, like 10 years. Poof. And then the second-time buyer was 42 years old. Now it's 61. So affordability is like the number one issue.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to ask you 2 questions. One is going to be about buyers and then sellers, because you deal with a lot of listings as well. So what are those conversations like, or how do you motivate, or how do you get people to think that, hey, you can do it? Sort of the same vein that we're talking about, because there are affordability challenges.
Absolutely. So the affordability is all in the prep work. So as you said, it's either you're going to be ready now or just a little bit later. And sometimes with the affordability, it's not necessarily the income that they have coming in, is the debts that they hold. So maybe it's you have a car note. 2 things, car notes and student loans, y'all, is always the thing that gets our clients to not move forward today. So car loans, student loans, if we can figure out how to help people with those 2 things, meaning coming up with some sort of payment with their student loan company, and then maybe if you have an $800 car note, but then your income is $3,000 a month, then right now is not the time. So I may tell my client, like, hey, if you can focus on using the savings that you have and then focus on aggressively getting your car note paid off, then that following income tax season, when you receive that bigger lump sum, then you can move forward to buy the house. And then guess what? You get rid of the $800 payment, you get rid of the rental payment, and now you have a mortgage payment and you have ownership. So it's all about like how you address the situation of affordability. I think unfortunately, obviously inflation too becomes a part. So I think about when I first got started, clients who are making like 25,000 could easily purchase a property and have options.
Right.
Now, a client pretty much should be making double that to probably get what they're looking for at minimal. So it really is like case by case, but affordability is all in like how you tackle their situation today.
Right. And
Yeah.
so what I'm hearing, once again, it's all coming back to educating, staying in front, guiding,
Yeah.
and once again saying, hey, today may not be it, but next year or the following year.
Absolutely.
So that seems to be a common theme, what you have, which once again is super smart because, hey, if you talk to enough people today, a year or 2 or 3 down the road,
Yeah.
they'll be ready to go and you'll always have business and they'll appreciate that you took that time
Absolutely.
to work with them, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so now another question. And you know what? One thing that you said at one of your seminars that I was at was you turned around and say, how much money do you pay in rent?
Yeah.
How long you been rent?
Yes.
Get your phone. Oh, you've been paying $2,000 a month?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you've been there 5 years at 60 times 2. You paid 120,000?
Yes.
And people, when they do that, they
Go crazy. Yes.
They get mad. Like, I'm not going to pay my landlord now.
Yes, absolutely.
But, so like little things like that,
Yeah.
really, really get people to think.
Absolutely.
Which is smart. Okay, so now your sellers. Sellers,
Mm-hmm.
lock-in effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
I may have a 3%. I may have a 4% interest rate.
Yeah.
Do I really want a 6 or 7% interest rate? How are those conversations going?
That's honestly different for each person. Depends on when they purchase as well, what they're looking to do, and where they're looking to go, and for what reason. I found that the reason is always, specifically in this market, is why. So it could be because maybe they're downsizing and they're moving forward in a different direction. They may be moving out of town somewhere different. They may be looking for a better school district. Like, those are motivating factors. You have to move regardless.
Right.
Those are the people who are selling their homes today and then still buying. Those who just want to move because they don't like their kitchen, they're not moving. They're staying put because once they start shopping and I send them over an estimate of closing costs, they're like, Tia, goodbye. We are not, my mortgage payment is going to be double. I'll stick with what I have and I'll renovate my kitchen. So it's all about the reason for the sellers right now. And a lot of my selling business come from my buying business. So
Right.
my buyers turn around, sell their property, move on, to a different way.
Right.
But that's where I found, with my listings, was the turnout. How the turnout's going. Yeah.
And that's I preach that all the time. We talk about the D's.
Yeah.
The 5 D's. Diamonds, diapers, divorce, downsize,
Absolutely.
death. Like, find the people that have to buy,
Absolutely.
not want to buy, because the wanters are going to say, oh, no, it's cold outside. Oh, it's too hot outside.
Yeah.
The Eagles won the Super Bowl. There'll always be a reason not to, right?
Yes.
That's exactly what you just said. So when you're
Yeah.
telling me this, I'm just thinking to myself, she's dead on. She's dead on.
Yes,
That's why you are you.
Thank you, Pat.
No, but that's great. Okay, so you deal with buyers.
Yes.
You deal with sellers.
Yes.
You have a team.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody wants to get a hold of you because they may want to join your team, they have a property they want to sell, they want you to help them find a place, coach them, whatever the case may be, how would they get a hold of you?
So they can find me on Instagram and Facebook. This Tia is my realtor at both those handles. Obviously my phone number. I'm not sure, do I give that out on this
If you want to,
podcast?
it's up to you.
Okay. My direct cell number is 267-279-5854. You can shoot me an email at tiaismyrealtor@gmail. And I do want to, before we close this, I want to talk about just one last sector, specifically for realtors that really they hold out, or they wait a very long time to do this. I want to talk about the importance of realtors not just selling and buying, but also being investors, buying and selling themselves, and how important that is in the line of work that we do. So before, I'm not sure if I ever told you this, but before I purchased my own primary home to live in, I flipped the house.
Right.
And that was important to me, to become an investor, to not just, and what had me become an investor is I worked with an investor, and I had found the property, I found the contractor, I resold the property for him, got all the numbers, did all the legwork. He just had the money, and he walked away with a 6-figure check, and I walked away with a 3% commission. I said, it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So I think when we think about being realtors and we're servicing clients and we're helping clients, we often forget about the importance of us doing the same for ourselves. So we can't preach that real estate is a way to go. Real estate is a great financial investment, etc., but we're not doing it ourselves. So if you are like a realtor and you're listening, I definitely want you to know, like, just somebody who's been in the seat of doing like the work, working with the clients, it's really, really important for you to have some sort of ownership in real estate. You don't have to be a flipper. Maybe you're a buy and holder. Maybe you're just someone who wants to buy a multifamily property for yourself. Maybe you just want to buy one property, but you should have some sort of passive income through real estate for yourself. And that gives you the hands-on experience to really work with and serve your clients at its best because you truly did it yourself.
Right.
So I just didn't want to end without talking about that.
Because that also is super smart. Because how can you work with investors? I mean, you can, but how can you work with investors if you don't know what they're doing and what they have to go through? Even if it's just one time, 2 times, you don't have to continually do it.
Yeah.
But if you did at least once or twice, you know the steps.
Absolutely.
You understand the importance of certain things, so you can guide, the investors. Because once again, there's a lot of people out there who want to invest in real estate. Forget about the realtors. Well, we're not going to forget about you. But there's also buyers out there, and they want to deal with an agent who understands the steps and can really guide and really can explain and saying, oh, this may be just an okay investment, but I think this is a much better one, and this is the reason why, and that
Absolutely.
kind of thing. So if you've actually done it once or twice, you just have a better grasp. And that's my opinion.
It's a value add. You have to be valuable and, once again, serve your clients in excellence. And some things, especially serving investors, you really do need that hands-on experience. I'm working with a client right now. She's been in my database for a long time. She's came to workshops. She sent a number of her family members to workshops. I see her name pop up all the time, but she's never done any business with me until recently. She's been probably in my system for at least 7 years.
Right.
And she recently called me maybe about a couple months ago and said, Tia, I own this 5-unit commercial property. I want you to sell it. I want to get some liquid, and then I want to purchase some additional assets. I said, okay. I got her property sold, and then now she has these assets, these liquid assets, and she's trying to figure out the best way to do it. She wants to recoup at least, 5 to 6 units with this money that she has. She's sending me over deals just because they're mostly families, but I'm like, we don't even have to go see this because the numbers don't make sense.
Right.
Like, I could, with my eyes closed, evaluate real estate, and I couldn't do that if I wasn't in that position to invest myself. So some things just honestly come with the experience, just beyond like what you look at from a real estate class or what you look at even on YouTube. You gotta get dirty with the real estate to really serve your client well, so that you can understand what it feels like to be in their seat, and that's how you really serve them well.
Right.
Yeah.
Now that's excellent. Okay, so I think you sort of cut off your number. What's your phone number? So.
Oh, yes. Yep. So my phone number is 267-279-5854. And you can email me at tiaismyrealtor@gmail.com.
Okay, Tia Whitaker, Domain Real Estate. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest, this is your realtor. Well,
yes.
I hope you enjoyed the Real Estate Show with Pat Lopez. Be sure to follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, subscribe. It really helps me out. Do some likes, helps out the algorithm. I have great guests on the show all the time, like Tia. Remember, this show's everything real estate, no limits. Hope you enjoyed the show, and I'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.